Welcome to Magnificat TV News, dedicated to offering news from the Church. Today is Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is concerned about the situation of the Church in Germany, according to his secretary, Monsignor Wensking. A group of German priests have announced that they will perform a public blessing of homosexual couples on May 10. The Bishop of San Sebastian, Monsignor Munilla, was the first one to call for prayer in the view of the seriousness of what is happening in Germany. The Archdiocese of Mexico City, through his Diocese magazine, has called for the support of life, family, and religious freedom when voting. Cardinal Berberin, Emeritus of Lyme Friends, has been definitely absolved of the accusation of having protecting a pedophile priest. Benedict XVI is aware of what is happening in Germany and is concerned about the situation, according to his secretary, Monsignor Wensking.
Benedict XVI is concerned about the state of the Catholic Church in Germany, according to his private secretary, Monsignor Ganswein. The Pope Emeritus perceives a lack of unity in many fundamental aspects of the faith.
Bishop Wensking, in an interview granted to the weekly Alpha and Omega, talks about the relationship between Benedict XVI and Francis. He affirms that the meetings between the two are confidential and that he does not ask about their content. The details of what they talk about are known only to them, he says.
But regardless of this, he continues in the interview, it is abundantly clear that the situation of the Catholic Church in Germany is currently characterized by tensions and confusions that are a source of concern.
Benedict XVI is aware of this situation in his homeland. He perceives and recognizes the lack of unity in not a few fundamental aspects of the faith. Unfortunately, a unitary approach is lacking in the German episcopate, which requires as soon as possible a clarification that would avert grave consequences for both the faith and the Church in Germany.
A group of German priests are going to publicly define the Church by blessing homosexual couples, even that it is forbidden.
A group of German Catholic priests has decided to establish a day of blessing for all LGBT couples on May 10th. The decision follows a document from the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, reminding that same-sex unions cannot be blessed.
We do not refuse a blessing ceremony, reads the initiative's website. We do so under our responsibility as pastors, promising people at important moments in their lives the blessings that only God gives.
We respect and appreciate their love, and we also believe that God's blessings are upon them, the statement continues. We do not accept that an exclusive and outdated sexual morality undermines our pastoral work.
The website has a space for voluntary applications from clergy who wish to actively contribute to the cause. In fact, by filling out a simple form, it is possible to designate one's own parish with the possibility of transmitting the blessing by streaming.
So far, 14 Catholic parishes have already signed up. One of them, located in the Diocese of Münster, has announced that it will also broadcast the ceremony of the kissing of the bride and groom after the blessing.
Monsignor Munilla, Bishop of San Sebastian, has called for unity in prayer in response to what is happening in the Church in Germany.
The Bishop of San Sebastian, Monsignor Jose Ignacio Munilla, has urged the faithful to join a chain of prayer for the unity of the Church in Germany and the rest of the world, asking the Lord for fidelity to the magisterium of the Church.
Bishop Munilla has taken the initiative of the prayer campaign after seeing the news of German priests in rebellion against the church who are planning to desecrate their temples by blessing homosexual couples on May 10th.
I invite you to join a chain of prayer and fasting in favor of the unity of the Church in Germany and in the whole world. Lord, grant us communion in fidelity to the magisterium of the Church, says the tweet that the Basque bishop posted on his personal account.
What is most significant is not the call to prayer, not even that one prays for unity, but that this supplication is directed to God, so that unity may be realized in fidelity to the magisterium of the Church.
Supporting life, family, and religious freedom with the vote is what the weekly newspaper of the Archdiocese of Mexico City has called for.
The Primate Archdiocese of Mexico has asked its faithful to vote for candidates who prioritize life, family, and religious freedom in the upcoming federal and local elections on June 6th.
The magazine Desde la Fe, owned by the Primate Archdiocese of Mexico, writes an editorial about the upcoming elections in response to the question of who to vote for.
The points of life, family, and religious liberty are indispensable for the Catholic voter to make a decision. If any candidate refuses to take a position on them, it causes reasonable doubt, since it could be thought that the person will not make a decision on them while in office either.
It is not possible to maintain a neutral position. Support must be given to those who have taken a stand in defense of the life of every human being, to those who see family as the solution to social problems, and to those who defend religious freedom, adds the magazine.
The Archbishop Emeritus of Lyon, Cardinal Barberin, has been definitely absolved by the French justice authorities of the accusation of having protected a pedophile priest.
The Court of Cassation of France, the highest judicial instance, ratified that the sentence of 6 months against Cardinal Barberin was unjust, since the accusations presented against the cardinal for not having acted in the face of the abuses perpetrated by a priest were false.
The French cardinal was sentenced in the first instance to 6 months suspended imprisonment for this offense. However, he was later acquitted on appeal in January 2020. Even so, a group of victims decided to appeal to the Court of Cassation, which has now confirmed that the accusations against him were false.
Due to the uproar caused in public opinion and in the media, Cardinal Barberin presented his resignation to Pope Francis on 2 occasions, which was finally accepted in March last year. In June, he bid farewell to his faithful in Lyon and has since been living in retirement as a chaplain in a convent in Rennes.
A few months ago, the Cardinal published the book In My Soul and in My Conscience, in which he denounces that he was unjustly turned into a symbol of pedophilia. Cardinal Barberin affirms that he felt trampled in the gutter and that he ended up spiritually shattered.
Our editorial this week is dedicated to commenting on the decision of a group of German priests to bless homosexual couples.
A group of German priests, supported by their bishops, have announced that next May 10th, in some cases in the evening before, on the 9th, they will celebrate a ceremony in the churches, in their parishes, for the blessing of homosexual couples or heterosexual couples who are not married in the church.
Este acto se enmarca dentro de la oleada de protestas contra la decisión.
This act is part of the wave of protest against the decision of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, obviously endorsed by the Holy Father. Otherwise, it couldn't have been published, and also the document itself says that the Pope gave the permission, the assent for the publication, a decision that prohibits the blessing of homosexual unions because it states that sin cannot be blessed.
La oleada de protesta se desató de forma inmediata y en ella
The wave of protest was immediately unleashed and involved bishops from various countries, theologians, priests associations, other types of civil associations, and even famous media personalities such as the singer Elton John.
es una reacción la que se organizó a continuación que ahora
It is a reaction, the one that was then organized, which now has this addition, this public challenge against the teaching of the Church. A challenge that in reality is a challenge against the Holy Father, because it is especially against him that this challenge, this defiance is directed.
pero para entenderlo bien hay que ponerlo en su contexto. En Alemania
But to understand it properly, it must be put in context. In Germany, there are approximately 10,000 Catholic parishes. Well, 10,000 Catholic parishes that have been invited by the organizers of this event, invited to join this public demonstration of rejection of the teachings of the Church. Of the 10,000 parishes, 14 have responded.
es decir,
That is to say, practically 0.1% or 0.14%, an insignificant figure. Therefore, we should not speak of rebellion, but of a very small rebellion, a tiny rebellion. This does not mean that it is not serious. On the contrary, it is very serious, but I repeat, we must put things in context.
lo que hace especialmente grave esto que
What makes what is going to happen on the 10th particularly serious is that unless there is a last-minute news, what makes this particularly serious is that the promoters know or think they know that it is going to be without consequences. That is to say, they are challenging the Church, and in particular the Pope, and they are telling him that the norms given by the Church, in this case the prohibition to bless homosexual couples, other norms such as communion to Protestants or liturgical norms, that the norms of the Church today have no value whatsoever. They are no longer in force, they are dead letter. That is what they're saying. They're saying that they are going to do whatever they want, whenever they want, without caring about what the hierarchy of the Church and the magisterium think.
y digo que es un ataque directo contra el Papa, es un desafío.
And I say that it is a direct attack against a Pope, it is a direct challenge against a Pope, because if the Pope does nothing about it, if the Church does nothing about it, if they, as they have announced, and as they have already announced to some of their bishops, are going to allow the bishops to make this challenge, to make this defiance, this provocation, and nothing happens, then many Catholics will be deeply disconcerted, scandalized, hurt, because they will see that the Church tolerates this situation with total impunity.
Naturalmente, si se hace algo, si hay algún tipo de sanción,
Obviously, if something is done, if there is some kind of sanction, then those who are going to be scandalized and very badly, they're going to feel disappointed in Pope Francis, are those who until now have been his main defenders and supporters, and they're going to openly turn against him without any kind of palliative or excuse. They're putting the Pope in a compromise. It is an attack explicitly directed at him, at the Church, at the hierarchy, at the magisterium, but explicitly at him. I repeat, it is not only because of the numerical importance of the act. 0.1% of the German parishes have joined the event, this celebration at least so far, and it does not seem that the web is having much success. But because of the public character that they want to give to it. In fact, one of the parishes of the Diocese of Munster has said that they are not only going to film the ceremony, but also afterwards they're going to film an act in which all the couples are going to kiss, and they are going to upload it immediately to the networks. I repeat, it is a public provocation directed against the Pope so that the Pope will intervene. If he's not going to do it, the congregation of bishops is going to do it against the bishops who allow it, or the congregation of the clergy against the priests who do this. The Vatican will do it, or else it will not do it. I repeat, if it does not anything about it, there are many who will be deeply hurt, disappointed, and besides, arguments will be given to those who say that in the church there are two yardsticks. A very hard yardstick, very hard, for those who are conservative, and a very tolerant yardstick, or completely tolerant, for those who are liberal, progressive, or for the Catholic Protestants, as they are called. The Pope is at a crossroads. It is against him, against whom this act is directed. They are putting him in a dilemma. He has to manifest himself, and if he does not manifest himself, it is already a form of manifestation. The Bishop of San Sebastian, Bishop Munilla, has asked for prayers for the unity of the Church. I completely agree with him. But he added that this unity of the Church must be based on fidelity to the magisterium of the Church. Unity is an extraordinary value. A schism is a tragedy to be avoided. Only a fool would like a schism to occur. A schism is a tragedy that we must try to avoid, but not at any price, because if we had to go through everything, the Church would have had to accept, for example, the heresy of Arius, who denied the divinity of Jesus Christ. Before the Church breaks up, we have to accept that Christ is not God, or that some say yes and that others say no. Or we would have had to accept the doctrine of Luther, or the doctrine of Calvin, or the multiple heresies that have already split the unity of the Church in 2000 years. Unity, I repeat, is a great value. We must try to avoid schism, but not at any price. Unity around doctrine, around the magisterium of the Church, this is what Bishop Munilla is asking for, and I fully join him in his request. Let us pray for the unity of the Church. Let us support the Holy Father to defend that unity and to continue defending, as he has done by expressing his support for the teaching of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, to continue defending the dogma, the tradition, everything that our fathers have taught us and that goes back to Jesus Christ, to the origin of the Church. Let us pray. See you next week, God willing.
If you would like to know of what is happening in the Church, you can go to our news page, www.magnificat.tv. See you next week, God willing.